Welcome to Vancouver Business Network, where entrepreneurs learn, network, and grow. I am Roger Killen, the organizer. Our weekly workshop for entrepreneurs is brought to you by TELUS Business, the fastest and most reliable pure fiber broadband network in Metro Vancouver. Our speaker is Stephen Logreira. Stephen is a tech whiz, an automation expert, and a seasoned sales professional. His clients hire him to create and automate a profitable sales process that save them time and energy and enable them to never miss enrollment opportunities ever again. Stephen is on a mission. He wants to help small business owners to work less and make more through automation. Vancouver Business Network members and most welcome guests, I invite you now to put your hands together and give Stephen Logreira a warm, warm welcome.
Hey everybody, my name is Stephen Logreira, and it's interesting because I'm into tech, but today's talk is really going to be not about tech. And as I develop my talk, I'll tell you why. So whether you've been in business for only a few months and are just starting to generate leads, or you've been consistently generating leads along with your business, you're in the right place. But let me see with a show of hands, and I want you guys to be honest. This is you. Tell me this is you. You have a stack of business cards at home that you've never followed up with. Okay. Appreciate your honesty. You feel frustrated because following up takes way too much time. Okay. Quite a few hands went up. Third of all, you've lost sales because you don't always follow up when you know you should. All right. So if you identify with these things, you're definitely in the right place. So my promise to you is I'm going to show you exactly how to increase your sales, how to automate your follow-up, and never leave money on the table again. When you don't follow up, that's what you're doing. You're leaving money on the table. So again, my name is Stephen Logreira, and I am a certified geek. I have a degree in computer engineering and a minor in business. So I've always been into technology and business. Right out of college, I got a job with IBM doing technical sales. I've been involved in technology and sales for a big part of my life for over 19 years. And I've had several businesses, and I've always incorporated technology and, most importantly, creating systems and processes. Now, when I talk about systems, it's really important that I'm not talking about technology when I talk about systems. When I talk about systems, I talk about processes, step-by-step process of how to do something. Once I figured out what the step-by-step process is, or the step-by-step system, that's when I bring in automation. And so I've been doing that for many years, and by doing that, I've learned and I figured out ways to save time, make things more efficient, and as a result, make more money. So who wants to be more efficient and make more money? All right. So for the last 8 years since I moved to Vancouver, I've been in the digital marketing field and setting up automation systems for clients. And I work with hundreds of clients, helping them to get their back-end systems and their automation set up. So a little bit about me and why processes and systems and automation are so important. So I have the gift of ADD, the non-hyperactive kind. Okay. So the gift of ADD is that I can hyper-focus. So I love to problem solve and I love to learn. So when I have a problem I need to solve or I need to learn something, I can focus and stay completely engaged and focused for hours. So customer has an issue, I sit there hyper-focused and I solve it. The downside of ADD is when I have too many things, too many irons on the fire, I usually just get overwhelmed and I shut down. So in my work life as a business owner, you know, we all have a lot of fires that we have to put out at the same time. So if you don't have processes, chances are that you're not going to get things done. And I think most entrepreneurs sort of have an ADD streak to them. Would you agree? So, and I kind of misspelled the slide here. Notice that when I was working on this. So for 12 years, I worked in real estate. And when the market crashed, and this was done in the US, so when the market actually crashed in 2005, most people talk about the 2007, 2008 crash. It actually crashed in 2005. People look at the East Coast and the West Coast when they talk about the market. In the US, at least. I don't know about here in Canada. But the trends actually started in the Midwest. So I used to live in Minnesota. And that's where the housing bubble burst in the fourth quarter of 2005 in the Midwest. And so I started figuring out, okay, what do I niche in? Everybody says, you know, if you're going to do something, find a niche. So I figured I would find a niche, and I found the niche when I saw the market taking a downturn, and I started figuring out how to do what's called a short sale. Okay. So in the real estate, a short sale is when a homeowner owes more than what the house is worth. So let's say you have a house that's got a mortgage of $500,000, and now they owe $250,000. I mean, the house is worth $250,000, sorry. So there's $250,000 worth of negative equity. So what I had to do was I had to negotiate with the banks and ask them to take less. So I had to build a case around that. Now, the files were, I mean, there was just a ton of paperwork. There was a lot of things that I had to include. I had to build a financial case. I had to prove that the property was not worth what the bank thought it was worth. So I had to build a case. Problem is that required a lot of paperwork. And when I first started doing that, man, did my ADD kick in. Talk about really being overwhelmed, having to put all this paperwork together, all these things together, right? So when I first started, I can maybe do two or three short sale cases. And it would take me about 4 hours to put together one of these short sale packages to send into the bank. So what I did is I put my engineer hat on, my tech hat. And first of all, I sat down and I figured, okay, what's the process? And then I looked at every single bank, and about 95% of the process was the same for every single bank. And there was this other 5% that was unique to them. So I was able to create a process, right? Checklists. Mind you, I haven't talked about technology yet. All I did was just create a process. This is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, and so on. As a result, I was able to cut it down from 4 hours to less than 1. And I was able to scale my business, right? Because typically in that business, you're looking to actually close about 20 to 30% of the deals you're working on. So you got to be working with volume. So working from 2 to 3 cases a month to concurrently 20, sometimes 25. All because I created a process, I automated it, and I went from 4 hours to less than 1 hour to submit the short sale package. So that I learned a very valuable lesson there about putting together processes, systems, then automating. So when the real estate market started to sort of bounce back, I had to figure out, what am I going to do next? Am I going to continue doing real estate? What am I going to do? And while I was in Minnesota, I met my beautiful wife, which she's sitting in the back. And she's from Venezuela. She was in Minnesota getting her MBA. And she had applied for her permanent residency here in Canada. So she got it. And then I was forced with the decision, what's going to happen? It was really hard for her to get her green card in the US. My business was sort of in that, what am I going to do next stage? So I said, it's okay, let's move to Vancouver. Now, here's the thing, as an American thinking, hey, I'm just going up north, right? There's no problem here, right? It's not like I'm going down, for us, down south is Mexico. For you guys, down south is the US. So I moved up here thinking, it'll be easy, saved up some money and moved up here, and then realized that if I don't have a PR card, a permanent resident card, which is the equivalent to a green card, I can't work. So I had to get creative. And so back then there was this website called Elance, right? And Elance was good because I could find work and they actually paid well. Eventually Elance got bought out by Upwork. And then all of a sudden it just became very hard to make a living because people were expecting websites for $40, right? Back when in Elance, you could find jobs for $2,000 or $3,000. So at least I could make a living. And I started building websites, taught myself how to, build websites with WordPress, then learning how to build membership sites to deliver online courses, then got into digital marketing. And even after I got my PR card, it was hard for me to still find a job. It's very, the IT, the technical world here in Vancouver is very competitive. So I was forced again to just go back in and figure out how to do this, right, and make a business out of it. So fast forward a few years, while going to networking events, just really building my business, I met a gentleman by the name of Dan Locke. Anybody heard of him?
Yeah.
Calls himself the king of top high ticket sales. So before the high ticket sales, there was just a Dan Locke inner circle. It was just a mastermind. And he would teach us marketing and sales. And while we were in that mastermind, he decided, it was actually over a dinner conversation that the whole idea of High Ticket Closer was born. And we put a team together. I built all the marketing funnels. There was a guy who did the Facebook ads. There was a copywriter. So it was a team effort. And we launched a High Ticket Closer. And as a result, because I had been learning how to close from Dan, actually my business took off even more. So I was happy for that because I learned really some closing techniques that I learned from him. But most importantly, I was able to see, I'm the type of person that I don't believe in knowledge is power. That's not true. Applied knowledge is power, right? So I said, you know what? Let me go learn how to do this. So I actually got a job for a coach selling a $5,000 coaching program. Okay. Now earlier, we talked about the ways that you are managing your leads, right? And the way that they wanted me to manage the leads was, and probably some of you can identify with this, it was a spreadsheet and Post-it notes and a notebook. The challenge was that we were getting 20 to 25 leads a week. So that's 100 leads a month in a spreadsheet. And then trying to figure out who I needed to follow up with, putting notes, color coding, setting, having like 10 million columns to figure out, okay, I'm going to follow up with this person. And talk about my ADD like really kicking up. Because think about this. The first half of my day, I work on my digital marketing business. Second half of the day, I took calls. I took sales calls. So I was doing about 4 to 5. And then afterwards, I was spending about an hour, sometimes 2 hours, just writing notes, putting color codes, figuring out how am I going to follow up, who do I follow up with, who I don't follow up with. And I knew I was losing money. And also I was losing my sanity in the process. So I thought to myself, well, I did it in real estate. I was able to get from 4 hours to 1 hour. There has to be a better way. So I started researching, and I wanted to find something that was simple, right? I didn't want to use, so I started looking for a CRM solution that wasn't like a Salesforce that it's like, so huge and really complicated. So I needed a simple solution that would allow me to follow up properly, keep track of my notes, and really have a good system. But the first thing I did before I found the tech, before I found the CRM that I wanted to use, I first sat down and I wrote, what is my sales process? from when the lead comes in to either to when I close a deal and enroll the client, and then beyond that, or to when they say no. In sales, no is actually a good thing. Why? Because it doesn't eat up your mental energy. The ones that eat up your mental energy are the maybes. Let me think about it. I need to talk to my wife, to my husband, to God. I need to pray. I need to meditate. All right. Those are the ones that really drive you crazy. And if you don't have a good follow-up system to do that, that is really going to trip you out. So as a result, once I put this system together, I tweaked it, I was able to reduce the admin time from 30 minutes per lead to 5. And I tripled my sales. The fortune is in follow-up. So today, really what I'm going to talk about is, first of all, when I've talked to many people, I've done some market research, and one of the biggest things that I got is some people say, well, sales automation, right? So there was this negative connotation around sales and automation. And these are the 3 things I discovered that are not true. Then I'm actually going to teach you some things, and we're going to talk about 3 steps to never miss an enrollment opportunity again. Who'd like to learn that? And then we're going to talk about how to create your own sales process so that you can 10x your own sales. So the 3 myths about sales automation that are absolutely not true. First one, following up and keeping track of leads is an administrative nightmare. Can be, but that's actually not true. If you have a good solid sales process, if you know exactly what to do at every step of the sales process, and you have simple automation tools, follow-up actually becomes really easy. Myth number 2, you have to be a tech wizard to be able to set it all up. That's actually also not true. There is simple technologies out there that makes automation easy, and you can also outsource. You know, the initial configuration, then just have them show you how to use it. So you don't have to be a tech whiz. Number 3, and this was the biggest one, automating your sales process sounds robotic and you will lose the personal touch. When I talk about automating your sales process, I'm not talking about putting everything on autopilot, right? There's ways that you can use automation to save time and optimize the sales process, and so that you never lose the personal touch. So for example, the CRM that I use allows me to send emails. It also allows me to create templates. So whenever let's say, and I'm actually going to share with you my process for when you're out networking. So you guys are going to take home my actual system that you can put into practice right away. So I can send out a customized email. I open up the email, I click template, I hit intro email, and I just literally change the word in there, and I hit send. Prior to that, I had to, and by the way, when I get a business card, I can actually take a picture of it and it goes into my CRM, right? So there's no data entry, right? So there are ways that you don't have to lose the personal touch, right? I'm not a big fan of using autoresponders and canned things to move the sales process forward. There has to be that personal touch. But the whole point of automation is to save 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 5 minutes there. When you add that up at the end of the week, you saved a few hours. So really, I've narrowed it down to 3 steps to never miss an enrollment opportunity again. And it's really, first step is create a step-by-step sales process. Then automate it. And then outsource it. So creating a sales process is really about thinking of it as stages, right? Stage 1. And then there's certain steps that go on that stage. And it's going to be different for each and every one of you, right? I can give you sort of a big picture, but you have to figure out what it is for you. What's every step inside of the sales process? So why create a sales process? Right? So you're doing your marketing, and if you look at all of these different modalities, everything that I have up here, this is actually all marketing, right? Because when you're networking, you're marketing yourself, right? You're not here just to hear a talk. You're also here to meet people, to maybe enroll people into your business or find someone that can help you with some challenge that you might have inside your business, right? That's why you're all here. You can be given talks, go to events, marketing funnels, digital marketing, social media, referrals. Joint ventures are huge. And I'll tell you why I love joint ventures in just a minute. So the simplistic thing with marketing and sales is like a lot of people collapse those together, and you really got to keep them separate. So the really easy definition of marketing is how you get a lead. And sales is what you do with that lead until you enroll them into your business or they say no. And if you don't have a step-by-step process for what you do with that lead, you will miss opportunities. And missed opportunities is equal to lost revenue. And lost revenue equates to business failure. Knowing what to do at every step of the process is the key. Not only in business, but in life. Like, so for example, I love to play softball. And I play third base. When I'm in third base and the batter's hitting, if I don't know what's my plan A, plan B, plan C, I'm going to commit an error probably. Most likely I'm going to commit an error, right? So I have a man on first, I have a man on second, third base here, ball comes to me. What do I do? First step is touch third base. If I'm far away from third base, my second is try to tag the other person, to try to tag the person running from second to third. My point is that I know exactly what I'm going to do before the ball comes to me. And if you know exactly what to do throughout your sales process, you're going to know what to do every single step of the way. You're not going to be sitting there wasting mental energy, right? Because you have this thing hanging out there. Oh, who was this person that I wanted to follow up with? I met her at the networking event. Let me go to my box of cards. That sound like something you've done before? Yeah. So lost revenue is there's a saying out there that says that a lot of small businesses fail within the first 5 years. The number one reason, they don't have processes in place. Right? When you're a solopreneur, you're kind of all over the place. What about when you hire someone? If they're doing their thing and you're doing your thing, do you think your business is going to grow? Let's say now you have a team of 5. If you're all doing your own thing, you're going to fail, right? So processes is important. And this is something that the corporate world knows, right? They call them SOPs, standard operating procedures. And they have manuals on exactly what to do, right? As small business owners, we really don't think about that. But if you want to grow and scale your business, you have to have these processes in place. And scaling your business is impossible without that. So we're going to talk about sales. When we talk about processes, we're going to talk about the sales process specifically. So this is what I've deemed as a 7 steps to create a sales process. Step number 1 is prospecting. Prospecting is knowing who your ideal client is and where they hang out, right? So for example, when I'm prospecting and looking for networking events, I'm looking for business owners, small business owners. So I come to Vancouver Business Network, or I go to BNI or anything business related. I'm not going to go to a cooking meetup to get clients. I got to prospect in the right places. Then I got to prepare. So one of the things I do before I go to a networking meeting, I actually, meetup is kind of nice because you can get a list of who's going to be there, and you can actually research who's going to be there and maybe find someone that you want to talk to, right? So preparing for that is key. And then your approach, how are you going to approach actually getting together with this person, right? Are you going to meet for coffee? Are you going to send them a link to your calendar? What's your approach to actually connect with this person to go to the next level? Which is your presentation, right? Presentation could be you're giving a talk. Presentation can be, hey, is you're actually talking on the phone with someone and you're talking about your solution. You're asking questions, right? Last week was about that, the kind of questions that you ask and how to sell without being salesy. Well, that's all part of your presentation. And then at some point, so that presentation could be one phone call, or it could be a series of phone calls depending on how you run your business, right? You might have to send proposals. You might have to get a request for a proposal if you're dealing with a bigger company. RFQ, they call them, right? RFQs, RFQ, request for a quote. That's what I was thinking about. So it might take a few presentations for you to get to finally to the actual sales conversation. So, yes, no, maybe, right? And that's when you're handling objections. Then you get to the closing. And it's really important to know when you actually bring a client on board, how are you going to onboard them, right? Are you going to give them access to your online courses? Do you have contracts? Is there homework? In other words, what needs to happen so that your relationship with your client starts off in a good way, and you actually get what you need from them and they get what they need from you. So it's also important to think beyond just closing. So this is my process for networking. So first of all, I find a networking venue. Then I prepare for that networking venue. I research who's there. And then I do one of two things. Either I get a business card, then when I get home, I take a picture of the business card with my app, and that goes into my CRM. Or I might take out my phone, bring up my app, and actually make an appointment right at the meetup. In the case of the business card, then what I do is I send them an intro email. And this is where I try to keep it personal. So the first email I send out is I actually say, hey, Taryn, we met at the Vancouver Business Network, and you said you were interested in the sales process. I would like to set up a time for us to talk. Then I wait for your response. So now we're having a conversation rather than just send them a link, right? And then he'll probably say, yeah, I'd love to meet, my schedule's available here and here. And this is where I don't get into the back and forth of, hey, can you meet Tuesday at 3? No, I can do Wednesday at 4. They actually studied this. You know what's a back and forth? How many times people back and forth before they can actually agree on a meeting? 9 times. 9 times. So to avoid that, in the second meeting, I say, hey, here's a link to my calendar. Find a time that works for you. Let's connect. And I'm really looking forward to connecting with you. The next thing I do is there's a term in marketing called indoctrination. Indoctrination basically means in marketing speak, it's basically creating a know, like, and trust factor. So typically what I advise my clients is, put together some videos, a little bit about you and your company. So by the time they're on the phone with you, they're even more excited. They know more about what you do, what your process is, and what you offer. So I definitely do that. Give them some homework to do. And then I have the sales conversation with them. So that could be 1 conversation, 2 conversations. And from a sales conversation, it's really going to be 3 outcomes. Yes, no, maybe. If it's yes, do you have an onboarding process? That you can fully automate. I mean, I've worked with so many people. coaches specifically that, you know, I end up getting 10 different emails over 3 or 4 days just to onboard. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but at least 3, 4, 5 emails over an X, you know, over a 5 or 6 day period, rather than getting one email with everything I need. And typically they're actually writing these emails and attaching stuff and sending it out, right? Well, this is where you can have an email autoresponder that sends out one email with everything I need in order to start the coaching relationship. In the case of a no, and this is something I learned from a gentleman by the name of Jay Fassett. No, I can still make money off of a no, right? I can either, depending on what that no is, I can put them back into the marketing, or I have a network of people, because I can't solve everybody's problem, right? I wish I could. I'd be, you know, I'd be doing really, really, really well, but I know I can't. But here's what I do with a no. Maybe I don't have a solution, but maybe Patty does. And then Patty and I make an agreement, hey, if I send you leads, you give me commission. And vice versa. Right? And then you look like a rock star in front of your client because your client went to you to get a problem solved. Even if you didn't solve the problem, you found somebody, you found a resource for that client. So you're a rock star, right? And then on the maybe, once I have the sales conversation and I deem that it's a real maybe, because sometimes people say, well, let me think about it. Well, maybe they're just trying to be polite and trying to get you off the phone or send me something, right? So part of the sales conversation, but when it's a real maybe, let's say, for example, somebody says, hey, I need to close a deal and I'm waiting for some money to come in. I'll be ready to go in a week. Great. So what I do is I make an appointment with them right there and then, right? I don't send a link or anything. I say, okay, great. So you say you're getting by when? Oh, by Friday. Great. I'll give you a couple of extra days. I'll set up an appointment for Monday, right? And this is where I use the technology to do all this. If it's something a little bit more long-term, I do what I call my 7x24 follow-up, and that's basically 7 touches in 24 days. And it could be a mixture of phone calls or emails, a little bit of both, right? And sometimes somebody might be a few months down the road. And I'll give you a perfect example of something that happened. Again, I have another softball story, right? I play a lot of softball in the summer. Last summer, I was in a league, and one of the girls that was one of my teammates, she sold insurance, right? And she says, hey, do you need insurance? And I said, well, this was maybe June, and my insurance doesn't reset till October, so I have no need. But I said, you know what? My insurance resets in October. I know you. I like you. Why not give you my business? I don't have a problem with that. Get back in touch with me in October. That was a for sure sale. 100% she was going to get my business. On top of that, she said she'd actually come to my house with all the paperwork, bring the stickers and everything, so I didn't even have to leave my house. I was like, sign me up. October came around, never heard from her. That was a sale she just lost. I'm not going to chase her. It's her job to come and say, hey, Steven, we talked about this in October. I'm ready. Let's set up a time for you to talk, right? And I just basically walked down the street, got my insurance done, and that person got the commission. So it's really important to have that follow-up and have a system, right? And this is where the automation does come in. Have a way to set your to-do list, your appointments, right? I was talking to a mortgage professional the other day, actually. And one of his problems was that here in Canada, the mortgage resets every 5 years. And as a mortgage broker, it's your job to get in touch with the client. Otherwise, the lender will just go ahead and redo the paperwork and completely cut you out, right? So another very important thing to have that follow-up system in 5 years if it needs to be, right? So remember, I talked about the importance of first, like sitting down and thinking about what's my process, what's step 1, what's step 2, what's step 3, you know, or stage 1 and then step 1, 2, 3, 4, right? First, write it down, figure out what that is. then automate, right? A lot of people tell me what software to use, what platform should I get? And I say, forget it. Don't worry about the platform. Don't worry about the tech. First, figure out what you want the tech to do. Then go find the tech that'll do that thing that you need to do. How many people have been here at an event and you've bought this piece of technology that you've come home and you've never used? Because it was a great deal and it was going to do everything for you, including laundry, right? And then $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 later, it's basically doing nothing for you, right? That's because you didn't have a process that would take advantage of that piece of technology. So tech second, right? And then you use it to automate. And I mean, for me, it's very simple. My follow-up is an online scheduler, a sales-focused CRM, and an email autoresponder. And I do want to make a difference between a CRM and an email autoresponder. A lot of people tend to collapse those two together. A CRM is a customer relationship management system. It's how I interact, how I keep track of my contacts of my database. And it allows me to maintain my calendar, allows me to have a to-do list. It allows me to send and receive emails, right? So again, when I was looking for that CRM solution, I already knew what my process was and I knew what I was looking for. And then I can start off with a simple system and then expand it. So I wanted something that was also expandable, right? So the middle part is basically the scheduler, the CRM, and then the email autoresponder, right? Then there's an app that I can take a picture of a business card when I'm in a networking meeting. That data goes into my CRM, right? Document signing, right? Nowadays, you don't have to send a document to someone and then they have to print it, fill it out, email it back to you. You can do e-sign, right? That integrates into the CRM system. It's also really important to have all your documents in the cloud, right? Somewhere where you can access them all the time. So integrate with Google Docs. Also integrate with my accounting software. I want to be able to make phone calls from my system and record those. By the way, here's a really great tip for you in sales. Always try to record your calls. Let your client know, hey, I'm recording the call. Because that's how you're going to know how well your conversation is and where you need to go back and maybe change it a little bit. So I highly recommend, at least when you're first starting, even though you're not a salesperson, you're still having sales calls, record those, right? Having a system that can record right into the contact, again, it's about having everything in one place. So when I was working with the coaches, I had the spreadsheet open over here. I had my Outlook open over here. I had my calendar over here. I had my, I had a text file open, right? So when I wanted to follow up with somebody, I had to go to the spreadsheet. Oh, here's a yellow one. Then go and read the note. Oh, now I have to cut, paste it into the email, then go to my text file, take a little bit of copy that I had already put in there. That was like 5 minutes of going all over the place. And again, my ADD is going, right? I was able to consolidate everything into one place. So I knew exactly what I needed to do. I knew what stage in the sales process I'm in, right? Am I in the follow-up stage? Am I just in the first contact stage? Where am I in that process? Right? And think of it as like a column, and then you can move one person from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. But I needed to know what stage that was in and exactly what happened in that stage. So process. And again, I can't stress enough, come up with your sales process first, right? Know exactly what to do. So what happens when I'm at a networking event? What's step one? I'm giving a talk. What's step one? I'm doing a marketing funnel. What's step one? How does my lead come in? And when that lead comes in, what do I do with it? What's the first thing I do? And you're going to find that they're all going to be a little similar, but there's going to be some differences. And if you know exactly what to do next, especially when you start hiring people, because now if you're doing all the sales, you can have your assistant follow the steps with you. and do some of the things that you need to do. So for example, one client that I work, he runs sales teams, right? I'm actually going to be setting this up for him very soon, and we're going to start selling this to his clients. So whenever he gets off the phone, he uses this app called Voxer and sends it to his assistant. And the assistant goes in, she puts the notes, she puts everything. And right now they're using a spreadsheet and doing this convoluted thing that I used to do. When I approached him with this, he was like, oh my God, Steven, I need to hire you like yesterday. So we're actually working on this. And first thing is we're creating a sales process. Then we're going to automate it. So process first, automation second. Third step is outsourcing. This is really important, guys, especially if you're what I call technically challenged. Right? Why waste the mental energy? First of all, trying to figure out how to set this thing up to work for your business, and then figure out how to use it on a daily basis, right? And if you're what I call technically courageous, and you like to fiddle with the things, and you need to put stuff in there, then my question to you is, what is the highest and best use of your time? Is it to figure out how to use the damn software and set it up and do all these things and then connect this, connect with that, right? I mean, it took me, and I'm super technical. It took me 6 months to come up with this thing and tweak it and find the right software and all that stuff, right? Why don't you hire somebody who's already done the research and figured out how to use it and can just teach you how to use it? You know, think about a car, right? What do you need to know to drive a car? You need to know how to turn it on. You need to know how to put it in gear. You need to know how to steer. You need to know how to use the accelerator and the brake. And usually somebody teaches you how to drive this car. Family member, friend, maybe you go to driving school, right? So somebody actually kind of, unless you did it, but you did it yourself. I actually crashed the car. I just said this on the internet. Sorry, Antonio. You have somebody teach you how to do this, right? So, and if it breaks, that's what the mechanic's for. I don't care what happens under the hood and all the systems and stuff. I just care that when I turn it on, it turns on, that when I hit the accelerator, it goes, and when I brake, hopefully it stops, right? So definitely think about outsourcing right away. So we've covered and we busted the 3 myths around sales automation that are not true. You know, the following and keeping track of your leads is not, it doesn't have to be an administrative nightmare. That you have to be a tech wizard to be able to set it all up. Outsource it. And number 3, automating your sales process sounds robotic, and it's not. It can actually be very personal. And then the 3 steps to never miss an enrollment opportunity. Again, how many of you guys learned something today about your sales process? Do you have something that you can actually go home and implement right away? Because I gave you my system for networking. I figure we're in a networking event. Why not give that to you guys? You feel that you can take that home and put it to use? Awesome. So again, create the step-by-step process, automate that process, and then outsource. And make sure that it's sequential. So who wants to take things to the next level? All right. So my gift to you, to the people online, is to book a complimentary sales process automation discovery session with me. And you can go to automatemysalesprocess.com/apply. And you can book a call with me and we can talk about your sales process, then how we can automate that sales process.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You've just made something really complicated, really simple. Appeals to my simple mind. Tell us, thank you very much for making this production possible.
Thank you, Tell Us.